about athletics and phys ed, and a little celebration about our student athletes, and then get into some of the numbers for the 17-18 budget.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me here tonight. As always, thank you for your support for all of our programs here. I know our student athletes are very much appreciative of all the efforts that this district puts forth towards the programs that they have for them. So tonight I'm here to thank you for your support. At the same time, hoping that we can add some enhancements to our programs that I think will really bring some nice positive additions to our program. Although the academic day may end every day at 2:25, for anybody that is around the athletic area at that time, you'll see dozens and dozens of kids just truly excited to take on the second half of the day, I call it, for them. They're excited for whether it's their practice, their events, their games, or contests. There's always excitement at that time of the day. So tonight we're here to celebrate them a little bit, and thank you for your support. So as I move forward here for our budget presentation for our 17-18, I'd like to highlight our successes first. And even since I put this together, I can add a few more bullet points to us. The fall season, we had 90% of our teams were scholar athlete teams for the fall. The GPA for the athlete versus non-athlete continues to be 5 to 6 point higher. It continues to be in that 81 to 86, 87 range. In the fall, we had 44 all-league athletes. 15 of them achieved all-section. We had 3 teams in the fall achieve league championships, volleyball, cross country, and our winter team, girls winter track. We had New York State qualifying athletes, with many of our swimmers go up to Ithaca this year for their state finals. A Con Ed Award winner and our Section 1 Golden Dozen Scholar athlete, Nick Cunningham from our football team, was named to both of those. Golden Dozen team is a very prestigious team. It's the first time since 1999 that Hendrick Hudson had one of the 12 athletes recognized in Westchester County, and that not only recognizes his feats on the field, but his feats in the classroom as well. We have increased our athletes playing at the next level. We're at approximately 55 kids. Enormous amount of community service donations this year we've had. It just excites me. It just brings me such pleasure. These kids come in and all they want to do is, can we do this? Can we raise this? Our basketball team playing in a fundraiser game across the river, they were so excited for 2 counties, 1 cause to help raise money for childhood cancer. Breast cancer awareness was one that we raised money for in the fall. One of my personal highlights of the season, even though it may not have been on the winning end of us, was our final football game that was played in the pouring rain against John Jay Cross River. The football team of Hendrick Hudson, the football team of John Jay, wanted to get together on their efforts and do something for the young man who was tragically killed from Manhattanville University, walking home and was hit by a drunk driver and unfortunately passed away. We raised money, we gave money to his family that night, and his parents came that night in the pouring rain with his Manhattanville lacrosse jersey, and I still have the handwritten letter that she wrote to our football players in my office, and it was just really nice of our boys, and that was all of them and John Jay. Our cheerleaders are on a big crusade to bring one of the nicest things, not in Hendrick Hudson, but I can remember in Section 1, but our cheerleaders will be going down to St. Jude Hospital in Tennessee in March to hand deliver a large donation to them, and they're getting excited with a shirt now that says, "We brought our anchor to Tennessee and made a difference in Tennessee."
Well, did they opt to do that instead of the nationals?
They have chosen to not go to nationals this year and do this in lieu of that.
That's tremendous.
And it's just examples like that of what our student athletes do for our community all the time. As much as I enjoy watching them play on a daily basis, it's just situations like that realize the kind of leaders we're putting forth here at Hendrick Hudson. So our school spirit, I will brag a little bit that I think our programs in athletics are what stir the pot of the school spirit in our community. These kids are excited all the time for our events. They're in my office today trying to figure out where they can strategically sit for the playoffs in the stands. Can they have this section? They think they're going to have more. They want to do a silent night and keep it silent until the 5th point of the game and then explode in eruption. So there is all sorts of excitement about these kids. Yeah, so they couldn't do it because they got so excited over an individual who scored a point for them early in the game, and we're so excited for that. So we have an increased alumni connection. We continue to have our Hall of Fame committee that continues to be a really strong benefactor for us and bring all sorts of enhancements to us and is there for us when we need them. Our locker room that many of you might see for our boys and girls basketball teams and for our volleyball team in the fall was all done with our alumni. Our facility enhancements have continued to take good steps forward. We completed our gymnasium recently within the last 2 weeks. We now have blue seats for our veterans. And the final touch on them will be signs that will say our student athletes thank our veterans so that they know that they can sit there in the front row. We've gotten a lot of positive reactions from some of the people that have enjoyed just sitting there for us. We had a bowler she won the Dan Begley Coaches Award at the end of the year, and one of our coaches was the New York Jet Coach of the Week, Mike Lynch, was that. He was also, and I tried to text Mr. Hochreiter one day when he was recognized on ESPN for NFL Coach of the Week for the same thing, so our highlights were on ESPN Sunday Night Countdown of the NFL show. And if I had 2 more bullet points, and I know Mrs. Bailey's probably behind me, just this week we had a pole vaulter win the Class B Section 1 championship, and our 4x4 relay team also won the Section 1 Class B championship. So they continue to do great things. As Mr. Hochreiter alluded to, we're coming up at the end of our winter season. It's an exciting weekend of sectional times here for our team. So, like I said, the school spirit is just every day. The kids are coming up with new ideas to get excited for their events here. So there's a lot of successes that we need to celebrate for our student athletes here at Hunter Custom. Every year I like to say that, pretty much the same consistency for us. It's still responsive to the needs and the interests of what our secondary level is for our athletic department. It's continuing to provide a safe and healthy environment for them to participate in. And as I alluded to earlier, the academic performance of our student athlete consistently is higher than the non-athlete at large. I'll go over this a little bit for our various lines, and then I'll get into further parts of the lines in a little bit more detail. Specifically, the first one is the coaching salaries, where you see a large increase, and that's what I alluded to earlier. Hopefully, we can support some enhancements to our program there. So you do see a large increase there that I'll be looking for. And that's the coaching salaries of all of our coaches. The non-coaching salaries, just to give you a total enhancement of the entire athletic budget, that would be myself, Nicole Loretti in our office, and Meg Griner, our trainer. We're going to hold the line at our equipment, our supplies, our contractual, and our BOCES line. So those ones we're holding. Our chaperone line, we've reduced it a pretty good significant amount. We may be able to reduce that a little bit more. We are, with our additions to our security team, we've been able to utilize them to save money in the chaperone area. I work closely with Mr. Anderson to see once we have them for another full season, we may be able to pull that back some more as well on that, because it's a challenge balancing them for their needs during the school day, and maybe not being able to flex them every day and utilize them for certain events. Therefore, we have to use chaperones. So, but we have made a significant decrease there as well. And the transportation and overtime budget, I know in past years I've been asked to at least give this number and provide this number so that it gives a comprehensive overview of the athletic department. So we pretty much held true at the transportation with a slight increase, and our overtime budget, working with Mr. Merlini, we're going to hold the line there as well. And I'll come back to that coaching salaries and that addition on a future slide here. So as I said to you, we do have an increase there, and this is where we're looking for. We'd like to add 10 varsity assistant coaches that'll kind of culminate what we need in our varsity assistants. And there's a lot of reasons. One of which, is the constructional piece of being able to offer the same type of instructions that many of our opponents are. We're a Class A school. So we are assigned, but most of our schedules against Class A schools, and these are, I'm just going to give you examples of, these are many of our opponents that have full slates of assistants: Byram Hills, Harrison, John Jay Cross River, Lakeland, Panis, Nanuet, Pearl River, Pelham, Nyack, Rye, and then Peekskill, Somers, and Yonkers have assistants, maybe not at full strength yet, but they're on their way to it, and have some more that I'm looking for as well there. So from an instructional piece, we're looking to add that so that our coaches do a lot. They do a lot of different things outside of practice as well, off-season time, and if we can bring that to the table and put us on, no pun intended, on an even playing field, that'll be very helpful for our programs.
I'm sorry, are you just going to increase them, or like across everybody gets an assistant, or are you going to do it based on need?
Well, we have we have some already. We have some already.
Are far more
we have some already.
Labor intensive than others.
Yeah, I understand that. It wouldn't be every team. I can go through. I would like 10 of them. I'm pretty much.
Well, I'm wondering how you're making the distinction, based, how you're determining need and how that's.
How many teams do we have?
I know. I saw your email. I put together some data, so I'm gonna I made some copies. So I'll give it to you. Is that all right?
Sure.
Thanks. It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. You're welcome. this was also an area too that came to us when we started our strategic plan, which I still refer to and utilize. And when we started our strategic plan, this was an area that was on there to bring more coaches to the program. To going back to Ms. Briggy's question there about which ones were decided, I tried to utilize where other teams in Class A had them, and for the most part, teams such as baseball and softball. To give you an example there, we don't have paid assistants, so baseball and softball, we may have a coach coaching third base where other teams will have a coach at third and first base. A second, somebody can work with the outfielders and infielders in terms of their practices. Their soccer teams, boys and girls soccer, we have one coach there, and if a kid were to get hurt or injured in a game, many times I have a coach turning around dealing with the injured player while the game still goes on. So the basketball teams, boys and girls basketball, cheerleading was on there as well, and I might want some flexibility with numbers 9 and 10 there, but it just takes us to an area where I think we're more on a competitive playing field with the remaining Class A teams.
I'm just curiosity. It shows like the number of teams, the approximate athletes, and so that's like the total number. So if you show like boys soccer is 3 teams, and that's 55 to 65 kids, so that's an average of 20 kids per team.
Yeah,
Actually,
sometimes
it shows
modified
4
level
though,
some
but
more, yeah.
it shows 3 or 4. But I mean, you're looking at about 40, it's like 20 kids per team here.
Correct.
And I mean, teachers do it in classes with 20 kids, and
The point Mr. Baker just...
I understand that, but I understand. I'm just trying to.
I think from an instructional piece too, and I've listened to the coaches here too, as well. When they go to a practice, there's so many different skills going on at one time, and they'll be off working with the offense, the defense, the goalkeepers, whatever sport you may be talking. Might be a variety of different skills, and being able to help teach skills and work and put us on a more competitive playing field. Many of their opponents are having assistant coaches with them.
Or is there going to be some assessment as to what sort of, how these people are added and what value they're adding? Because, who will, like, you can put an assistant coach in, but if he or she's not really as effective as you would like, is there going to be...
evaluate them appropriately and move on with that. But for the most part, I envision the head coach picking an assistant that they can work with, cooperatively and positively, and bring the enhancement and that we're looking for in addition to our program.
That's the question. The point that you just brought up, when somebody's injured, either at a practice or a game,
Or an away game.
particularly at an away game, having more than one adult present.
It's happened to us often. We've had kids hurt in an away game, and we go through this every year in our preseason meeting with the coaches. Unfortunately, if a kid is hurt in an away game and an ambulance is needed and the kid has to be taken to a hospital, if the parent is not there to take them, sometimes there have been games that have ended because the coach is the only one that can go with them. And that doesn't happen often with us. We have a lot of parental support, and we're able to talk with them, and we remain in communication with them. But I've seen a lot of games end from opponents when they've only had one coach at a game, and an injury occurred, game was over.
So are there specific teams that you've identified that need these first
Yeah.
day assistant coaches?
Yes. Yes. You want me to?
I'm
You
just...
want to share it with
Yeah,
us?
so yep.
Which ones you're talking about?
Yep, sure. Boys and girls soccer, volleyball, cheerleading, boys and girls basketball, baseball and softball. And I say cheerleading, we have 2 different seasons, and field hockey is there too. I know Mrs. Bailey's behind me too, and she'll go to many events where there's more coaches than we have there at a track event. So, I want to have some flexibility with our last 2 positions there to determine where they may go.
So 8 known plus 2.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure that we're okay with Title IX and applying to boys teams, girls teams, and stuff like that.
So boys soccer, girls soccer, field hockey, fall cheerleading, volleyball, boys basketball, girls basketball.
Yeah, the 10 that I have right now are boys and girls soccer, field hockey, volleyball, fall and winter cheer, boys and girls basketball, baseball, and softball. But like I said, I might shift one elsewhere.
So lacrosse,
Boys and girls lacrosse already have them. We have them at boys and girls lacrosse. We have them at wrestling. We have them at football. We have them at winter track and spring track. So we have a lot of programs that have them already.
Now, the sports that you're also identifying are the ones that also generally have the most injuries too, correct? Boys and girls soccer, cheerleading.
Cheerleading?
Pretty
yes.
much
hockey.
finishes them all, it rounds out the list. I mean, except for golf. In town.
Golf, bowling, skiing.
Well, skiing.
So they're, in working with some of my peer athletic directors, these are areas that other teams have them, so we're looking to. All right. The other positions that I'm looking to add as well,
Do we send this kind of ties back to something you said. When we have chaperones, do we send chaperones to all out away games or just certain?
not them all, but I will work closely with the athletic directors and kind of be ahead of when they'll be needed. When I know we have a large crowd going somewhere, I like to have them at.
So I've been to a number of away games where I was surprised to see some of our chaperones, but they were needed because of the event,
And-
crowd. We had a big contingent.
And it works
of our
both
people
ways
there.
for me too. I'll know if I host a large crowd here too, I'll many times
Yeah.
call up in upon athletic director and say, anybody coming today? And yes, they will, and they'll be needed as well. So
And in those situations, if the player is injured and we have a chaperone,
they can assist.
they can help.
They can assist there, but they're not at every event.
They're not as.
So the other additions that we're looking to bring to the table too as well are 2 JV tennis positions. Our tennis programs, one in the fall and in the spring/fall, we have the girls, in spring we have the boys. We'll have about 25 kids come out for each team, and in tennis only 10 kids play in the starting lineup, and it's not like other teams where you can sub in, sub out. The kid that starts that tennis match has to finish that tennis match. At the conclusion of it, there's rarely daylight for the others to play. So again, we're in the minority in our Class A to not having a JV team, and it'd be nice to have those kids, the opportunity to play in a competitive game for putting in all the time and effort. So we have that. And again, something was talked about at our strategic planning with the strength and conditioning coach. We never went into the plan, but it's something that I think could bring a lot to the table here. And this may not just be for the student athlete. We have a lot of interest for kids at 3 o'clock, looking for the weight room, looking for the cardio room. And if we had somebody in there for fall, winter, spring, working with coaches, developing some plans, whether it be strength, speed, agility. We do something in the summertime through our booster clubs. I work close with Mrs. Brady and our PTSA, help support that as well. And we get a lot of kids for that, and it's something, bringing a wellness program like that, I think could enhance our program as well. So that culminates the addition of that one line of our salaries. None of them would bring to the table additions to our BOCES line because we wouldn't be bringing extra cost of officials. Very, very limited transportation increase. It would only be for the 2 tennis positions, and it would be limited contest, and that was incorporated into the transportation budget as well. So no other lines get affected with these additions here. So it's just in that one area.
So that one position, the strength and conditioning, is that 3
It's
different?
actually 3. So it's 3 different seasons. Correct.
3 different stipends.
Correct. That's how I envision that. Yes.
So that would be
Fall, winter, and spring.
no, but you'd have to add 2 more body counts kind of to it.
If that's how you want, yes, you can look at it like that as well. Yeah, I look at it like that. That's how I look at it as well.
It's one person, but you're paying them 3 times.
Correct.
That's
3 different
It's
positions.
not
Yes.
necessarily the same person.
It doesn't have to be. It could be. but
We'd
it doesn't
we'd have to
Correct.
post it, and
Yep,
people
once we
would
get
have to
this right.
compete for it, that kind of thing.
I get asked many times by people in our district and people that are interested outside that there's a lot of people that I think can help in that area and be enhance our program there.
So, but what we're looking at is 15 positions actually instead of 13.
Correct. Yes. Okay, moving along here.
Now, do they all start at the same step? How does that work?
It's
It would be,
It's usually calculated, the contract has a very specific way of calculating essentially time on task and difficulty or level of involvement of the sport or the extracurricular club and activity. So there's a calculus that we would go through with HHE.
when I looked at that and I did those 15 positions, I came up with a ballpark of about $65,000 for all of them.
So about 5,000 each.
Yeah, that's, again, I didn't, I'd have to work with Mr. Hochreiter, Dr. Swerdloff in terms of, how we negotiate that, but as Mr. Hochreiter alluded to, there's percentages in our contract and specific spots, and depending on who we hired and whether or not they were step 1, 2, things like that.
Okay.
And as I said, that's only an increase in that one area. We'd be holding the line the rest of our areas, our supply.
Which you have done.
We've done that
Year after year
and
after
we
year.
scrape, but we continuously hold the line on those ones right there. BOCES, we've had to make some
It's every
increases,
year
but
with this.
we have, correct, Mr. Ryan is correct, we've held that for the last few years in regards to
Emphasize,
that.
right?
We still continue some of the other cost savings that we've done year in, year out. We've frozen specific inventory when we can and not bought stuff. We've kind of rotated where we can freeze things. We've reduced transportation. We continue to do that if we can. If I have long, lengthy events like a cheerleading competition or a wrestling tournament or a volleyball tournament that goes all day on Saturday, our coaches are great in working with our parents and making it potentially a drop only and not having to pay for transportation throughout the day on a Saturday. I work closely with our head custodian here, Mr. Merlini, trying to limit ourselves on holidays where our costs would be large. So at times, sometimes we can't avoid that. For instance, this Monday's a holiday, but we have sectional games, that are assigned on Monday. Our ice hockey team's playing Monday, so. And then our basketball team's play during the week, so that sometimes we have to be quick practice, but we'll limit the window that they can come in here for that. I like to provide this every year, our student participation. Our 7th through 12th grade for our athletic programs is 1,204. 685 students participated, and that would be over the last calendar year, so that would be from the last year's spring season, the fall season, the winter season now. We had 685 kids, and that's 57% of that's 57%. And you'll see on the next slide here, our participation trends. I know I was asked to do this, so I took a look at our last 5 years, and you'll see we kind of have been very close, a little over that 1,200 range for our enrollment for 7-12. It's kind of dipped and gone up here and there. We've been right around that 57%, but that's where we've topped out at, and we topped out that this year, so it's at our highest point. So it continues to be a very popular program for our athletes and in our district, I should say. So when you put it all together, we're less than 1.5%, even with our additions that we're hoping to get here for our athletic program. It's actually 1.4% of the budget, the whole thing together. So it still continues to be a good bang for our buck. Going back to that first slide, our kids have done tremendous things for our community here. So on behalf of our athletes, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
So we have 60 teams.
I can look at this so many different ways. So it depends how you look at it. You can look at the bowling team. You can count that 3 ways. You can count it boys, girls, and we'll have a JV. That one coach will do the boys and the girls team and a JV team. So you can look at that as 4 teams one way.
Yeah.
The ski team, you can look at it as boys and girls. We pay one stipend for a co-ed. So I can get as high as 67 if you wanted to. It depends how you want to look at it. I don't have on here our merge programs that we're not the lead component on. So our girls swimming, where Croton is, and our boys swimming, where Peekskill is. So
I know I'm going to be asked this weekend, so we're going to just, do you ever anticipate a time, or is this our question, that hockey will not have to support itself? I mean,
That's
we're
a
adding
question.
15 new coaches, and we still have hockey, the hockey players, the parents still come up with.
correct. They help us
Is
out tremendously.
is there an argument for, and I understand the expense, but there's probably a comparable expense with football, which has been here forever.
It's a valid question.
But do you ever anticipate
I
that?
think that's a discussion we would all have to collaborate on together when you remember this clearly.
Well, it
when
is
hockey
budget
came to the
times.
table several years ago, and that started with our strategic plan as well as a new program. That was one way to help ease the transition to the district. And now this year, and well, just so everybody knows, so we merged with Haldane in ice hockey about 3 years ago, and this year Haldane, in working with myself, Mr. Hochreiter, the Haldane superintendent, and their athletic director, they're contributing to us, so we'll be getting some revenue back from that. So I think it would be vital if myself, Mr. Catalan, Mr. Hochreiter take a look at what we have there, and if we can get to that point, perhaps.
No, I appreciate it, but I mean, if you're looking at adding two more tennis teams, and I understand the costs and everything, but I mean, you're talking about adding 2 more teams here, so
It's a valid question. I think we all would have to collaborate on together.
About equity. We've got families that pay on one hand while we're building more opportunities on the other. It's an
And
equity
those-
conversation.
Correct, so.
But I'll be
it's,
asked
you
to,
know,
and I'm sure you will as well, but I get asked that as well, so.
Yeah, so I just, you know.
We could sit with the Haldane people and cost this out.
Yeah, I think it's something to take a look at where we are, yes.
I just think, you know, again, if we're going to add, I mean, that was the argument, because, you know, budget constraints, adding teams is expensive, and we're just adding 2 more and this, so,
Yeah,
you
paying
know,
for
if you've
more.
got
Something to think
60,
about.
and yet, yes, there's still parents who are paying,
Correct.
like, for their children, so.
We're adding 2 that you don't have to rent ice.
I
That's-
appreciate
That's
that.
the major part of
But we're
ice
also
hockey, you have to
adding
rent.
15,
We
we're
don't
adding
own the
15 people.
facility.
I'm aware of the cost difference, the same way, but you can have the same argument about things like equipment with football, with, you know, so many other things. I mean, I don't think, if you're going to make that distinction, frankly, about the cost of a program, then it should be allocated, you know, if that's the argument, the cost of the program, maybe that's what needs to be reviewed. But it's not necessarily just a new program anymore.
No, it's
So-
becoming a veteran program for us.
No, but my point is, that's not the argument. If you're saying,
All right.
let's add a new program, we have to pay, the parents have to pay for it, that's clearly not the argument anymore.
Correct.
So if it's, whether it's a function of costs and it should be borne by everybody, or whether it will continue like that.
And as Zach alluded to, I think at the end of the season, when we work with Haldane and take a look at, I think doing a cost analysis would be vital for us to do there.
I think it's worth looking into, because, you know, in the interest of equity.
Yeah, I understand
Honestly,
that.
my son's almost done, so, you know, for me, that's
Sustainability
it's
too,
moot.
so.
But again, I want to, you know, it's,
No, it's
you look at it for
a
from
good
a
process to
parent
go through, and it's an equity.
it is.
It's about equity.
You know, and if you look at, you know, again, number of children that are, you know, that benefit.
So when we wrap up the season, we'll do it.
We would definitely look at that.
You also have to look at
The number of students participating, like the 600, are you counting unique students?
No, that's
No.
that's not doubles. That's 600.
So if they're in the fall, winter,
It's counted
spring,
one.
so it's unique students?
Yes,
Great.
It is
So we have a good amount.
57%.
You're not kidding.
we have a good amount of kids. If you,
And
it's actually a pleasure to come into our building between 2:30 and 3:30 and just see the excitement they have getting ready. They are excited.
Well, we're talking about hockey, but this is just a question for future thought. And it's about concussions. I know we do the programs, but there are several sports where the danger of concussion is much higher. Football, soccer, cheerleading, all of those. Will the liability, the potential liability, ever cause school districts to go away from offering sports?
That's a tough question
As
for me
the
to
football
answer.
players in the NFL.
Yeah, but
They're
we
doing
do
something.
a real and we do a
We're
really
doing
good
something
job.
about that right
Meg
now.
Reiner
with Little kids playing
does a
football.
very good job in communicating with our coaches. All of our coaches, as per New York State regulations now, every 2 years they have to do a refresher course on concussion management. We speak about it at our preseason meetings as well. All of our kids, our district has committed to the impact program for all of the athletes. So our kids take the impact test as a barometer for the return to play protocol. So it's something that we've taken seriously as a district, and I thank everybody for the support of that. It's a topic that we needed to take interest in and take the lead on being innovative in and put some funds to it to support the programs that, whether it be the impact program. And for a football team, I purchased 4 helmets now that have a little computer chip in the back of the helmet that can register how hard a hit is. Knock on wood, we didn't use them at all the last 2 years, so they're there. But so it's proactive things such as that.
Good, thank you.
You're saying you didn't use the chip, you didn't have
We
to
didn't use the
register.
helmet at all. We didn't need to use it, which is good. It's a specific type of helmet.
You wouldn't use it just like,
Just
It-
'cause?
It was used. It was
Just
used.
'cause?
It was
No, I
used.
mean-
It was used to. It would be used to on a return to play for secondary and third concussions. I think that's what it's meant for.
that's, I didn't
Yeah, so
understand.
it's not.
the
No,
language.
it's just used for
Okay.
when somebody here sustained one.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much for your
Tom.
time and all your support as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.